What's up, family? Minister Raymond Woods here. Pastor Mike just wrapped up another powerful sermon series of our Smart AF as found in Proverbs. And we're here today with a few young adults to figure out what is stuck, what's hit home for them. And so we'll take a moment to just introduce each person here. So to my left, we'll start with you.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Cam Jones, and I've been Light of the World for 2 years now.
Awesome.
Hello, fam. My name's Anthony. I've been part of Light of the World for about 2 years now as well.
All right. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi, family. My name is Jameson Davis, and I've been at Light of the World for also 2 years now.
Awesome. So just a few questions, and I'll start with you, Anthony. Which scriptures from the sermon series challenge or encourage you the most, and why?
Yeah, I would say, and it's a verse that I've heard before. It's not new, and I would argue it's probably one of my favorite verses. But when it comes to Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Submit to Him in all your ways, and He will make your path straight. I think the reason why that verse specifically spoke out to me was because it has shown to really evolve in how much it has meant to me throughout the years. I think I'll just speak for myself. When I was younger in my faith, I think it was definitely a verse that helped me to just kind of like memorize, but also to kind of default to. But as I've gotten older and kind of, life has happened, you really start to see how that verse really means more to you. And my mom had just passed away about 2 months ago. And to really understand how, what does this verse really mean to me now? And it really is just submitting the pain, it is submitting the sorrow, it's submitting the worry and the plans of what we do afterwards. All of that, I think, meant a little bit more because of that, because of what has happened in life. And I think the Lord has only grown me from that experience. And I think has shown Himself even more despite kind of the sadness that comes from losing your parent.
All right. That's a good practical example of putting that into action. Let's see what that looks like in another area, because I know you're a professional in the medical field, correct?
Yeah.
So is there a way in which you've had to trust in the Lord, even if naturally it seems like you should be going in this direction and the Spirit of the Lord just kind of guided you in a different direction for the better?
Yeah. I think, so specifically with my career, I work in the emergency department, and I guess to say the least, or to say it plainly, essentially I do my best to control chaos. And life will teach you that it's not really possible to control all of chaos, or at least what is perceived as chaos.
Right.
In that moment, I think the best thing that I've learned with wisdom and not really worrying as much is to be still as well.
Nice.
No matter what comes through in the emergency room or coming through the hospital, there's not a lot of new things that, is happening in this world. People are still getting injured, people still get into accidents. And for the most part, we kind of have protocols for those things. And so in the moment, it may feel like a lot, but, essentially our job is to not be as worried and to really put that aside and to really put more of our thinking hats on in that moment. Because our job is to kind of hopefully ease the anxiety and ease the worry in that moment, knowing that, we have the training to do what we've done. And once you have done enough cases or patient care encounters, you really just say, hey, Lord, I know I have the training, but I'm gonna lean on you for everything that happens afterwards. Because even though there is similarities from different cases here and there, everyone's still different. And so you just kind of take things, from case to case and just know that as long as we do our best, you just pray that the Lord will kind of help guide and put everything together.
Awesome. Anthony, thanks for that. That response is truly amazing. Cam, I have a question for you. What's one piece of spiritual wisdom you've learned recently that has helped you make better decisions in life?
So what I'll say for me is, and this is a verse that really stuck out for me, was Proverbs 19:21, was what it said was, you can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will always prevail. So I think for me, I tend to make my own plans and kind of have a pathway for my own life on how I want to see it and want to have control of that. But I think the biggest thing that we learn and deepen in our faith is that we don't have that control. We have our life aligned with what we want to do, but at the end of the day, it's the Lord's will, what we truly want to do in our calling on this earth. So that's the biggest the biggest piece I would say that I've taken
I
away.
love that. Has there ever been a time where you've made a plan and God just totally changed the course of that direction and you was like, well, this worked out for me?
Yeah, so I would say for me, I've ran track pretty much all my life. So since sixth grade, so for me, it's always like I want to be the next Usain Bolt. But
Right.
it always doesn't, it always doesn't work that way because you play sports, you do these things that you love and find passion in. But at the end of the day, like you have a greater purpose that you may not have seen yet. And I feel like for me, I've started to see that purpose now and knowing that I want to help people. I want to be a great person and a great person within my career. So while I still love to run and I still love track, like that's not the direct focus of my life. So.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great example.
Yep.
Up next is Jameson. Jameson, how you doing?
I'm good.
I love it. Was there a moment during the series that made you rethink a decision or behavior in your life?
I would definitely say during, part 2 of the series, we're talking about, getting out of your own way and leaning not on your own understanding. I grew up as the oldest sibling. I'm the oldest daughter, oldest child. So I grew up very headstrong, very independent, which isn't bad, but at times I have to admit to myself that I don't know everything and that's okay.
Yeah.
As I navigate this young adulthood, looking to the older generation that, the Lord has placed in my life, whether it's my parents, my grandparents who are thankfully still living, asking them, like, yes, they're in a different generation. And so our situations may not, line up exactly detail to detail, but those life lessons are still, remaining the same. And so just seeking out that wisdom from those people who have lived life before me.
I heard that. Can you give me an example of one time you had to rethink a decision and it's like, maybe I should do this a little differently based off the things I've learned, or maybe something in scripture made you pause and recalculate?
Yeah. Moving out of my parents' house. So,
Okay.
coming to college, I was like, okay, like I don't plan on going. So I'm originally from Columbus. So I was
Right.
like, I don't plan on going home after I graduate. I want to stay in Cincinnati. One of my favorite books of the Bible is Esther. So, for such a time as this, I was like, this is
Come
my
on now.
time. This is my Esther time. And not realizing, how much work goes into like fully moving out, especially in this unfortunate job market that we're in. So, I'm thinking like, okay, I know what to do. Like, I'm gonna just keep looking for jobs and not necessarily, reach out to the village that God has given me. And my mom had to call me and be like, you have this person and this person and this person who's doing this, to, help make those connections and help me see like, okay, I'm not thinking about this fully as God intended. So just really, going back to the Lord, being like, okay, I know you want me in this place, but I'm here to receive the direction in which I'm supposed to go.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that.
Yes.
For sure. For sure. I know for me, this next question hits home, and it's what area of your life do you feel God is calling you to grow wiser in, whether it's relationships, work, etc. For me personally, looking for a job at one point in time was a priority for me, especially when you've been like underemployed and so forth and used to making a certain amount of money. And I was applying for jobs and doing different things. And I know at one point in my life, God just told me to be still. I had an option one point in my life to take this job that made $20,000 more than the job I had on the table. But it required me to relocate and do different things. I was excited about it. And I signed the job offer and I did the drug screen and the background check and I was ready to go. And the Spirit of the Lord was like, no, take this job. And it's $20,000 less. And it just blew my mind. It's like, why would I do that? This just don't make sense. But it ultimately ended me on the path, the professional path that I'm on now. And so now looking back, I can like thank God that, he slowed me down from making that decision. But can any of you guys relate to something like that in your life?
Okay.
Wow. I would say that in almost every area of my life, the Lord has basically said, you can grow.
Yeah.
I think I tend to kind of tackle one thing at a time, but right now I'm at a point in my life where I recently got engaged.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Shout out to my fiance.
You better shout out.
And then, with that comes a lot of changes from, your financial situation, changes to obviously the relationship itself. And then even just the need to be a lot more engaged with the Lord. And so it's not just an engagement with my fiance, but it's also an engagement more with the Lord, because in any endeavor that you encounter, that really is, you're going to require the Lord more and more. And while, relationships are definitely a gift, being with my fiance has taught me so much about patience. It's taught me so much about self-reflection. It's taught me so much about communication as well. And those are all things that in time, we both are going to be changing over time. And so it's going to be a constant reminder to say, hey, be patient. We're both changing. And how do we grow in such a way that we reflect the grace that the Lord has for us? And so I think from a relationship standpoint, that's definitely something I feel called to grow more in. From a financial standpoint, when you just, caring about me, myself, and it's probably easy to budget, but when you start thinking about someone else before you, and then eventually not just your, fiance, future wife, but also your kids, now it's like you really got to start budgeting out, okay, what are some things that we got to start planning for that I may not, be able to predict? And so really the growth from a financial standpoint is, I would say, an indirectly trust as well. Trust in the Lord, kind of going back to the original verse, like really trust in the Lord that he's going to make a way. He's going to find a way, as long as we are, good stewards of our resources as well. And so I think in a lot of different areas, both from a communication standpoint, relationship standpoint, and even finances, I think all of that has required me to really kind of step up my communication and my engagement with the Lord, because I have to.
I love that. I love that. Pastor Mike had a panel with some generational people on there, and then one of the person that said, putting money back and not wearing her money, driving her money. When she got a raise, not to live in that raise, is to put that money back and invest it. And she's like, now I got some change put aside. And I thought that was a nice flex. So growing wiser financially is definitely something that hits home. Yeah. Anyone else, Cam?
I can speak on it briefly, kind of hitting on the same thing what you said today about a sermon on wisdom. I would just say, I think God is calling me in this season to really just sit and just listen. Yeah. Like, I want to be able to understand other people's perspectives and to understand where I'm at in my walk with Christ, and also how I can move that forward. But then also even like on a earthly perspective of like furthering my education and furthering my abilities financially, to also be able to learn about how to plan ahead and to plan forward throughout my life. So I think God is just calling me in this moment to really take those things in mind. And ultimately still, plan out things and to still be able to think about them, but to also listen to other perspectives as well.
Love it. Jameson, care to chime in?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely in my relationships, just being present, just like with who I'm with. I think oftentimes in our society, we're always looking, for the next thing, like, okay, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? Without just like sitting in the moment, enjoying the people that are in front of you, no screens, no phones, no nothing. And just also relating that to just, spending time like being still in the Lord, like that. Like if we are called to have a relationship with him, like that is the time to, sit, dive into his word, listen to what he may be telling you without, trying to overtake the conversation. Cause I feel like I do that sometimes. I'll be like trying to talk and then I'll be like, you know what, God, I did not give you a chance to speak. That's my fault. Like, let me fall back. So yeah, I'd say just staying present in those relationships that, you're given.
I love that. So being wiser and just listening,
yes,
being still and being present in the moment. I think we can all use that. Final question, and I'm gonna start with you, Jameson, and I'm working my way around the Cam. What one piece of advice would you give your younger self?
I think going back to the being present part, just constantly running back to the Lord. Like there is nothing, and I mean nothing, that, he can't, cleanse within you, and he can't, you know what I'm saying? Like he's always gonna be there for you. Like, things happen, earthly people may come and go, but God remains steadfast. So, just keep running back to him, regardless of whatever you're going through. Like you may think like, I'm in the dark, like he don't really want to talk to me right now. Like I'm probably not his favorite child at the moment, but he still looks at you as his child, and he's like, no, like that's the moment that you need to come to me most probably. So, just keep running back to him.
I love that. Anthony, when it comes to spiritual wisdom, what one piece of advice would you give your younger self?
I may sound like a broken record, but I think as a kid, I feel like so much of my reaction to worry was, well, I got to plan. I got to think through all the different processes. And what I learned throughout most of my life is that most of my plans never really came to fruition. And I thank God for that. And what I mean by that is, I had plans, for example, to, once I graduate high school, go to college, and, I just need a scholarship for college. If I get a scholarship for college, I'm willing to pay for med school. And then I get to college. I was fortunate and I got like a 4-year scholarship. So I graduated with no student debt from that standpoint. And then for med school, I just thought to myself, well, I'm gonna just focus on, paying my bills whenever that student loan comes through. And then to have the opportunity to go to a school where they paid for my entire tuition as well. I was like, this is actually a better plan than I ever planned, Lord, and I thank you for that. And it really it speaks to the fact that no matter how much planning I want to do, because there is very much a type A personality within me, and I think I'm probably a little bit of a minor control freak, God really humbles you in that situation, and He really tells you you really don't have control about really anything. Whether it's waking up in the morning, whether it's taking a breath, whether it's walking, driving from our apartment to church, you don't have control of a lot of different things. And so I think daily the Lord is teaching me that, to let go of those things and to truly not worry, because He really does have everything under control. And as scary as the world may feel, He still is sovereign over all those things. And I think that's really the biggest thing I was just telling my younger self is like, I know it may feel like you're letting go of control, but that's because I think you're almost deceiving yourself by thinking you had control in the first place. Submit your plans, do what you have to do from a planning standpoint, but give it to the Lord.
Yeah. Reminds me of that church bulletin when it says the asterisk is at the bottom. It's like, but God has control over the program,
Right.
even though we made it. Yeah, love it.
Right.
Thanks for your transparency and vulnerability on that. Cam, same question to you.
Yeah. What I would tell my younger self is really find something that you're passionate about, you'll find purpose, and from there you'll find peace. So I think really keeping those 3 steps in mind is that you find something you're passionate about. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you don't keep in mind the people that are around you. Like if they're telling you, oh, you're doing this, you're passionate, but no one else does that, don't worry about it. Nobody else is doing that, but they're not on the same path that you're on. So understanding that the path that you're on and the journey that you want to take, finding that peace and finding that perspective and really carrying that the rest of your life.
Yeah, the steps of the righteous are ordered.
Yeah.
And being able to walk in those ordered steps are important. And then trust in it is important. So thank you. So Jameson, Anthony, and Cam, thank you so much for your transparency, your vulnerability, your openness. And so for those who are watching this, definitely tune into the sermon series, Smart AF, as found in Proverbs. And if something in this moment touched you, share it in the comments. And also don't forget to share your own personal journey. All right, God bless.